think that spiritual capital is something we've probably already always had to some extent, except we've never termed it that, or we've never pointed it out. So it wasn't a thing. But it was always there. People have values, people have things that are important to them, they have a spiritual side to them, whether they call it that or not, whether they label it that or not. And there might be more or less at any given time in a company, in an organization. There might be more or less capital, but the moment we talk about it, the moment we talk about spiritual capital, it becomes something. And it becomes something that people can focus on, that people can expand on, and think about in terms of, well, what is spiritual capital? How do you describe it? How do you measure it? I think that's a very difficult thing. But I think it's very important to be aware of it, especially in this day and age. I think that it would be a wonderful spiritual asset to think about the whole, whether it be the company, the community, the world. It depends on, how, what your vision is really. But thinking about the whole, taking into consideration the whole, is, I think, a key focus or a key element of spiritual capital. And I've actually come across a lady who once told me that no matter what she does, whether it's in her business or in her personal life, because the two are actually part of the same reality, she always asks herself the question, would this be good for the whole or not? Or which one of these two options would be better for the whole? And she lets her decisions be guided by that principle. I think that, again, the use of the word a spiritual organization is simply a choice. We make choices when we use words, and organizations are what they are, and when we take a look at their spiritual side, we're making ourselves aware of the fact that they have a spiritual side. We've only chosen so far to look at their material side. So simply shining a light on that part of an organization makes us aware of it and makes us ask questions about it. Spiritual organization, again, would be one that would take into consideration more than just itself. We're at a juncture in human history where it's become extremely clear that all our systems are interdependent, that our destinies as countries, as people, are interdependent, that our human resources and our global natural resources are interdependent. So in order for us to act as sovereign individuals or sovereign organizations, it's not taking into account that interdependent reality. So a spiritual organization would be one simply that chooses to be mindful of that and be mindful of the bigger picture and how it can contribute in ways that perhaps we're not thinking of right now to the bigger picture and make it sustainable. And the key, I think, is that thinking along those lines is actually can be seen as a selfish thing, because when you're taking care of the whole, you're taking care of yourself as well. You're not giving up anything. You're thinking in the long run. You're thinking ahead. You're thinking about the future, and you're making sustainable choices, creating a world where your organization has a future versus doesn't have a future. So that's all. I think that awareness is the most important element of what you might term a spiritual organization. I'm not sure that profitability and spirituality are things that don't go together, that need to be seen as coexisting. I think they're two sides of a coin. I think it's impossible to be profitable without thinking ahead and without thinking sustainably. And to me, spirituality is whatever values everyone and values the richness of existence. Cooperation, wholeness, oneness, all of these are attributes of having a spiritual outlook. And when you're thinking profit, you can think of it in the short run, and you might see a lot of profit in the short run at the expense of the environment or at the expense of other very key factors. However, the moment you think of profit that's sustainable, you're in the spiritual realm again. And I think true profit, true success is something that needs to be sustainable and has to take into account the wholeness of reality. So I don't even choose to see them as conflicting things. Again, I think we've chosen to see them like that. We've chosen to term profit something that is dirty or that happens at the expense of others, but that's just a choice, and we can choose to see it differently and work it differently, and I've seen companies and organizations do that very successfully. I think our current economic systems need to be spiritualized, but I think that it will happen through replacing them somewhat. And I'll try and elaborate on that. When we look at our existing systems and our existing structures, they are born out of certain assumptions and certain unconscious beliefs that we've all bought into as society. And those beliefs are what gave birth to these systems. So our belief in our inherent selfishness of humanity, or a belief that our interests are conflicting rather than complementary, our belief that we have to set up and manage, set up systems that manage these conflicting selfish interests. These beliefs have created systems that are based on this win-lose attitude, that are highly competitive. And competitive not in a healthy way. I think we must be aware of the fact that excellence is an important thing, something we must strive for. But excellence is something that comes out when you have cooperation. Your true beauty comes out when other people shine as well. When you're holding other people down, you are not going to be the best that you can be. So if we want to create new systems and give birth to a more spiritualized sort of set of organizations and structures in society, then we have to really think about stepping back and looking at what are our current beliefs and what do we really want to believe. And when we adopt a new set of values and beliefs about human nature, such as perhaps we have it in us, we're nobly created human beings that have it in us to be cooperative, our interests can be seen as complementary rather than conflicting, then a natural consequence of that is that our systems will be created in different ways. But the actual work has to be done on that macro level in order for the nitty-gritty to work itself out. I run a coaching and consulting business for individuals who are either starting or developing their career in the entertainment industry, in the media industry, in the arts. And in my experience, all my clients seem to come to me when they're looking for meaning in their life. So that's been my perhaps biased experience of reality, where people don't seem to be sustainably happy and productive when they're not feeling that they're doing meaningful work. And very often what I do is I call it a values elicitation, where I elicit people's values in terms of their career or their family life. And when we do values elicitation for career, even though they come to me thinking they're not making enough money, we very, very soon realize that money is one of their last values, and that things like meaning and inspiration, motivation, all these things are right at the top of their values list. And when they are fulfilled in those areas, then do they turn to think about, well, is this paying me well? So those are the priorities people are having. And I think it's very telling. I think that that's really a shift, a trend that's happening in society.